All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about something that shapes our world in ways we probably don't even notice. These two simple but incredibly powerful ideas, East and West.
We've all heard this line from Rudyard Kipling, right? East is East and West is West. It's become this kind of go-to quote for a world that's neatly split in two. Two totally separate opposite sides. But what if that whole idea is just a myth? Well, that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
I love this. This comeback from an old movie just pokes a hole right through that whole idea. It's a joke, but it brilliantly points out how arbitrary the whole East-West thing is. It's such a simple question, but it exposes a much, much bigger fiction.
And that gets us to our first big point. The idea of the West isn't some fixed geographical fact. It's a story. It's a narrative that's been built up over centuries, packed with myths and fantasies, all to serve a very particular way of seeing the world.
Think about it like this. This is a perfect example. What a lot of us call the Middle East is, from a Chinese point of view, just Western Asia. And in Arabic, the word for West, Maghreb, actually means North Africa. You see, the words we use are never neutral. They always show you where you're standing on the map.
And it gets even messier when you throw politics and culture into the mix. I mean, get this. Israel is often called Western, but Turkey is labeled Eastern, even though a huge chunk of Turkey is actually, geographically, west of Israel. And don't even get me started on Latin America. It's literally in the Western Hemisphere. People speak European languages, but it's usually left out of the Western Club. So these clearly aren't geography terms. They're political.
Okay, so if the geography is kind of fuzzy, what about the culture? We're often taught this story of European culture developing in a straight line, like an unbroken chain from Plato all the way to NATO. But is that really how it went down?
This simple answer? Nope, not even close. This whole idea of a pure Europe, born only from ancient Greece, is a story that was invented by pretty much erasing centuries of African, Semitic, and Islamic influences that were absolutely crucial to how Europe developed.
For centuries, Europe was a massive borrower of ideas and technology. I mean, look at this list. The alphabet, algebra, printing, gunpowder, the magnetic compass, mechanical clocks. These weren't homegrown. They all came from outside of Europe, from these incredible cultures in Asia and North Africa.
And historian John Peterson just nails it here. Every single big milestone in European history, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, all of it, was a moment of intense cultural mixing. The West wasn't just influenced by other cultures, it was literally built by them. That's a really powerful thought.
So, you have to ask, if these ideas of East and West are basically myths, how in the world did they get so powerful? Well, there's a huge historical engine that projected them across the entire planet: colonialism. This definition is just so sharp. Ethnocentrism is just judging everyone else by your own culture standards. But what made European colonialism so different was that it was that idea with an army. It was a project on a planetary scale to force one way of thinking on everyone else.
And the sheer scale of it is just staggering. By 1914, at the peak of imperialism, European powers controlled over 84% of the globe. Just let that sink in for a second. This wasn't just about money or politics, it was a deep cultural takeover.
This right here, it shows you the deep cultural violence of the whole thing. Can you just imagine being a kid in Senegal or Vietnam, being forced to recite from a textbook that your ancestors were blonde, blue-eyed Gauls? It was about erasing a people's history, their identity, even their own name. So to keep a system of domination going on that kind of global scale, you need a story. You need a powerful idea to make it all seem okay, to make it seem right. And for colonialism, that ideology was racism. It was the intellectual and moral justification for a system that was fundamentally unjust.
Albert Memmi's definition is crystal clear. See, racism isn't just about personal feelings or prejudice. It's a system. It's a system for assigning value to differences, whether they're real or totally made up, all to justify aggression and protect unearned privilege. The key thing to get here is that racism has always been a tool of power.
And this system works with a kind of brutal logic. It's like a three-step playbook. First, you define other people by what they supposedly lack compared to you. Then, you create this obsession with ranking everything: people, cultures, you name it. And the final, devastating step is to systematically devalue the very lives of the colonized, which makes it seem okay to commit any atrocity against them.
So,
After tearing down this old broken map of the world, what do we replace it with? Let's talk about a new way of thinking, a framework that's more accurate and, frankly, more just for seeing the world we actually live in. I love this culinary metaphor because it makes it so clear. One version of multiculturalism is kind of like adding a few ethnic spices to the same old main dish. Sure, it's tolerant, but the basic recipe never changes. A polycentric model, on the other hand, it throws the whole cookbook out and starts over. It's not about generously allowing other voices in, it's about completely rewriting the menu and restructuring power from the ground up.
So here's the bottom line. Polycentrism is about imagining a world with many vibrant centers of culture and knowledge, not just one. No single group gets to be the default, the normal one that everyone else is judged against. It's about spreading power around and empowering communities that have been pushed to the side for way too long. So what does that mean for us? It means we have to actively seek out different viewpoints and start questioning the stories we've all been taught.
And that leaves us with this really fascinating and kind of hopeful question to think about. If we can actually build a world with many centers of power and culture and knowledge, what happens to the very idea of a margin? Maybe in a world like that, the margins just disappear, and we can all finally be at the center of our own stories. What do you think?